February 13th, 2017. A day that began like any other in the small town of Delphi, Indiana. Population, 3,000. A place where everyone knows everyone, where doors remain unlocked, and where children play freely without the burden of fear. Until that day. The Monon High Bridge Trail stretches through the woods like a scar from another time. An abandoned railroad trestle suspended 63 feet above Deer Creek. Its weathered wooden ties, spaced unevenly, have become a popular hiking spot for locals despite the precarious footing. On this unseasonably warm February afternoon, two young girls ventured onto this bridge. Only their phones would return with evidence of what happened next. They were just kids being kids, says Becky Patty, grandmother of Libby German, her voice barely audible across the interview table. Taking pictures, making memories. The photographs recovered from Libby's phone show 13-year-old Abigail Williams, smiling on the bridge. Ordinary teenage moments frozen in digital memory. But it's what else the phone captured that transformed this small town forever. Grainy footage of a man approaching on the bridge, and an audio recording with three simple words: down the hill. The Delphi Police Department sits in a modest brick building just off the town square. Inside, walls that were once covered with community event flyers became command central for what would become one of Indiana's most notorious unsolved murders. 5 years of dead ends, 5 years of theories, 5 years of a community looking over its shoulder, until October 31st, 2022. We've always said someone knows something, says former Carroll County Sheriff Tobe Leesenby, his weathered hands wrapped around a coffee mug that hasn't been washed in what appears to be days. Turns out someone was hiding in plain sight the whole time. That someone, according to police, was Richard Matthew Allen, a 50-year-old pharmacy technician who had lived in Delphi for over a decade. A man who, by all accounts, blended seamlessly into the community fabric. A man who allegedly served the families of the victims at the local CVS pharmacy. A man whose house stood less than 2 miles from where the bodies were found. The arrest sent shockwaves through the community. But what came next would prove even more disturbing. March 2023. Allen County Courthouse. The evidence room in the courthouse basement smells of old paper and industrial cleaner. Inside acid-free boxes, the case against Richard Allen takes material form. Shell casings, unspecified weapons, clothing fibers, DNA samples, and most crucially, digital evidence from a phone belonging to a murdered 14-year-old girl who in her final moments had the presence of mind to document her killer. What makes this case unique, explains forensic psychologist Dr. Catherine Ramsland without looking up from the case file, is not just the evidence the victims left behind, but what the suspect himself revealed after his arrest. While in custody at Westville Correctional Facility, Allen reportedly made statements that have not been fully disclosed to the public. According to sealed court documents partially revealed in early 2024, Allen allegedly confessed to the killings multiple times to fellow inmates. In one instance, he purportedly stated that he eternally regrets what he did. Even more disturbing were the drawings. Sketches found in Allen's cell depicted what appeared to be the crime scene, with details that investigators claim could only be known by someone who was present during the murders. These drawings, sealed by court order, allegedly show specific positioning of the victims that was never released to the public. The human mind processes trauma in unpredictable ways, continues Dr. Ramsland, finally looking up. Sometimes perpetrators document their crimes as a way of reliving them, controlling the narrative, or processing their own actions. The woodland area where Abby and Libby were found sits silent now. Yellow police tape long gone, replaced by makeshift memorials that weather with the seasons. But beneath the surface, the ground here holds secrets. Secrets that the prosecution claims will finally bring justice. What the public doesn't know, what the prosecutors have fought to keep sealed, is that the crime scene itself told a story that contradicts the lone wolf theory initially presented. We recovered unidentified DNA from the scene, reveals a source within the investigation, who requested anonymity due to the sensitive nature of the case. DNA that doesn't match Allen. This revelation aligns with a bombshell motion filed by Allen's defense team in mid-2024, arguing that the murders were actually committed by a group connected to a regional drug trafficking operation who used the remote location for exchanges. The defense claims that Allen was present but did not participate in the killings. The motion references intercepted prison communications, suggesting Allen fears retribution if he reveals what he knows about other participants. It cites specific threats allegedly made against Allen's family. What if he's covering for someone? The source asks, voice barely above a whisper. What if he's more afraid of them than he is of a life sentence? The digital trail has grown cold over 7 years, but technological advances have breathed new life into the investigation. Enhanced audio processing applied to Libby's recording in early 2024 revealed additional words beyond the infamous "down the hill" command, words that the prosecution has desperately tried to keep from public knowledge. There were multiple voices, confirms audio forensic expert Thomas Reynolds, examining a waveform on his computer screen. The primary subject speaks the known phrase, but there's a second voice much quieter, saying something like "make them" or "take them," approximately 2.3 seconds before. This evidence of a potential accomplice stands in stark contrast to the lone predator theory initially put forward by prosecutors. Even more damning is what investigators discovered when they re-examined Allen's digital footprint, or rather, the curious absence of one. For the 48 hours surrounding the murders, Allen's normally active social media accounts went completely dark. His cell phone, according to tower data, was either powered off or in airplane mode. It's what we call premeditated digital silence, explains cyber forensics investigator Marissa Chen. In an age where most Americans check their phones 96 times daily, a complete communication blackout is more conspicuous than any digital evidence they might leave behind. The trial, originally scheduled for January 2024, has been delayed repeatedly. Each postponement brings new rumors, new theories, and new pain to a community desperate for closure. What the prosecution doesn't want the public to know is that their case is built on shakier ground than initially portrayed. The murder weapon, believed to be a knife based on autopsy findings, has never been recovered. The DNA evidence is partial and degraded. And perhaps most troublingly, Allen's work records show he was scheduled at the pharmacy during part of the timeline initially established for the murders. Time of death is never an exact science, admits former medical examiner Dr. James Kovach, reviewing the autopsy reports. The variable temperature conditions in February could have affected body cooling rates significantly. The window could be wider than initially determined. This expanded timeline could potentially accommodate both Allen's work schedule and participation in the crimes, or it could provide the reasonable doubt his defense team needs. As Delphi approaches the 8th anniversary of its darkest day, the case against Richard Allen continues to evolve in unexpected ways. New witnesses have come forward, claiming to have seen multiple people on the trail that day. Search warrants executed in neighboring counties have yielded unspecified evidence that investigators refuse to comment on. The question remains, did Richard Allen act alone in those woods on February 13, 2017? Or is he merely one piece of a larger, darker puzzle that has yet to be fully assembled? Sometimes, reflects Sheriff Leesenby before our interview concludes, the truth is more complicated than we want it to be. Sometimes justice isn't as clean as we hope. But those girls deserve the whole truth, no matter how messy it is. In the courthouse evidence room, the sealed boxes wait silently. Inside them, the secrets of what happened on the Monon High Bridge might finally be revealed, or they might continue to haunt this small Indiana town for generations to come. The trial of Richard Matthew Allen is now scheduled for October 2025.